you speak the same way at school? Interesting. Huh. Okay. So you're maybe more, does that mean you're more comfortable with your brother? Or no? Badly. Okay. Because your brother wouldn't get mad?
Weren't you one of the people that had the woods and bad words?
Also never lied.
The liar. He doesn't have his fingers crossed or anything. I noticed that.
You know what I notice sometimes? I don't know if you guys ever do this, but sometimes even with my own parents now, I like to let them think things are better than they are. Oh, I've got it all under control and everyone's doing so great. And when they come over to visit, I want the house to look clean. I want the kids to be in a good mood. And I don't want them to worry about me, I guess. And I guess a little time to impress them and let them think, oh, she's doing so well.
If my parents want to think I have an A in math, I'm okay with that. It's not happening, but they can go ahead and think that it's happening.
Eventually they'll find out.
And when I've been at work, I feel like I have to be more assertive and maybe a tougher side of my personality than I normally would be, because there's kind of pressure to act a certain way and be powerful in certain work settings.
That's what the car drive is for. You know,
Yeah.
you put the
Wind it
personality
down.
on as you're driving.
Wind it up.
Yeah, and as you go home, you let it. Well, a lot of the guys in prison they've put this personality on for so long that they think it's who they really are. And trying to help them realize that they can act a different way. They will have a fight. Like if you got up and ran to the restroom and somebody else came over and took your chair, when you came back, because the only personality you think you have is this aggressive person that owns everything and fights over every little slight, it would turn into a fight that resulted in both of you having 90 days added to your prison sentence. Which is basically how people end up in prison. Anything small like that turns into this ridiculous escalation. And so helping them see that that's just a piece of the personality, that they can choose to acquire a different piece of personality and then choose between these two pieces of personality. It's just, I mean, it's not rocket science, but for them it is, because they've never made those choices before. Yeah?
This might be a dumb question, but have you ever had any problems giving the sewing club people sewing needles?
That's it. No, that's not a dumb question, because it's monitored amazingly carefully. What we use, you will not believe
It's
it.
made of rubber and soap.
No, we have this. There's a plastic loom that you can get. It's a circle. It's a plastic circle, and we don't use knitting needles. And it's got little plastic posts that stick up, and it's called a knitting loom. We use that to stem needles, and you wrap the yarn around it in loops, and then you're supposed to be able. When you buy the kit, it comes with a little, just a needle about this long, metal needle about that long, with a little handle, and then you can use that to lift the yarn over these little posts. Well, the prison won't let us bring the needle part in. So the guys tried lifting the yarn loops over these little posts with their fingers. Well, the men's fingers are like they're bigger than the posts. So they're allowed to use a plastic pen cap to lift it over. The pen cap doesn't work very well. So the guys figured out that they could use a paper clip. They could take a paper clip and unbend the end of the paper clip and make a little hook out of the paper clip and lift it over. That worked for about 3 months, and then somebody from the administration found out that they were defacing government property by bending the paper clip. Yes. Defacing.
It's different than a metal needle. They're both metal and wood.
Well, except it's so weak. But it's defacing government property, so they're not allowed to take the paper clip and bend it out of shape.
Makes sense.
Could you bring your own paper clips?
Well, they wouldn't have any way to bring their own paper clips because they've been living in prison, did you bring them? No, that would be, no, if I bring something and give it to them, it's called trafficking. And you can't bring anything, because once you brought one thing, you could bring something else. So you can't bring anything.
I wanted to mention too, I wish I had my computer with me today, but Donna's put together a great YouTube video where she shows herself kind of checking into the prison. There's a big security process you go through to walk in the doors. Yeah, I think that once we leave, I think if you just look on YouTube and
Yeah.
put in Rev Donna Olsen or Donna,
Yeah, or Donna Olsen.
Olsen,
Yeah.
you'll see her video. But it is interesting, you can't bring anything in.
And look at
Does
your
it make
socks.
the TSA look mild, or?
Well, kind of, except it's not X-ray.
Yeah.
Yeah, you take off your shoes and you show the bottoms of your feet to make sure that you haven't got drugs or anything taken at the bottoms of your feet. Yeah, and they will pat you down if you wanted. Yeah, the wand thing is just like the airport. Yeah. So anyway, that's a class. There's a couple other classes. And I'll tell you about the poems in a minute that I brought, because we used to have a writers group, and these are poems that the men wrote for the writers group. But I'll tell you about my Thursday afternoon group first, because actually it's not a group. On Thursday afternoons, I visit a hospital in the prison. There's a small hospital in the prison I visit, which is why I've chosen this hospital and chosen this prison and stayed in this prison. Because there aren't that many prison hospitals, and I'm just lucky enough to live within driving distance of a prison or a hospital, because the men in the prison hospital usually don't get visitors. You know, the more social networks we have, the healthier we tend to be. Our friends and family keep us healthy. And the men in prison who become seriously ill tend to also be the people who don't have a lot of family support. Usually when you're in prison, your family and friends can visit you. You put them on your visiting list, and then every 2 weeks they can come visit you if you've behaved yourself. But the people who don't get visitors are far more likely to get sick than the people who do have people on the outside who care about them. That's called being on the outside. And so these people get sick, they end up in the hospital and frequently have no one who ever comes to see them. And dying of cancer in the prison hospital when no one out there cares is very, very lonely. And there's 24 beds in the hospital. And actually 15 people die a year out of 24 people. That's how sick they are. Because when you get really sick, you don't always get well. And so on Thursday afternoons, I visit those 24 people. And it's usually a much happier time than you think, because once in a while they want to talk about the fact that they may die. And once in a while they want to talk about religious issues, but frequently what they want to do is just have fun. They want to talk about what they've been watching on television, or what they've been doing lately, or how they learned to make fudge out of chocolate candy by heating it up in the microwave and melting it down and adding peanut butter packets and stuff. And we talk about whatever each person wants to talk about, for somewhere between 10 minutes and half an hour, and then I go on and talk to the next one. And it's the most vivid connections with another human being that you can possibly make, because it's like soul to soul, and you're really connecting with another person at the most important level to him that's going to happen that week. And it's just, you feel alive, and you feel like God is right there. It's part of what you're doing. I think it's the most important thing I do that week with each person I talk. And then there'll be somebody who won't want to talk to me, or won't feel well that day, or just is in a foul mood. Because people who think they're going to die are sometimes in a very, very bad mood. But anyway, that's what I do on Thursdays. Yes?
So my question to you, I hear music, so I don't know if that means the end or close to, but the question I have is twofold. Why men only? Why not visit women's prisons?
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that the fact fact that you are a woman allows them to feel more comfortable in that the perception is that women generally can be more compassionate or more communicative in general. So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what the influence is there.
Interesting question. I think there's a piece of me that needs to go into the men's prison. I didn't meet my father till I was a little over 2 years old because he was out of the country with the military. It was World War II, and it was an extended tour. You didn't come back till the war was over. And I was old enough that I met him. I mean, that I remember meeting him by the time he was allowed to come back to this country. And I think there's a piece of loneliness that going into the men's prison satisfies. But it's important to, for one thing, everybody and their uncle wants to take care of the women in the women's prison because everybody thinks, oh, those poor women, and they get so much attention.
Do they? Okay.
I'll tell you a couple of reasons why I go to the men's prison. One is almost every relationship inmates have, male or female, has been sexualized to the point where they don't know, they're just astonished that they can have a relationship with a person of the opposite sex that is only friendship, which also means that I'm, treading fire all the time. But I have to keep showing them that you can just be friends with a person of the opposite sex. It is possible. But the other thing is, I am the only non-fundamentalist Christian they know, and they would dearly benefit from a Unitarian group. We had an Episcopal group for a little while, but I couldn't keep it going. Episcopal families are scared to death of prison. But there are a lot of Christian groups that come in, but they're all fundamentalists.
Can you tell us, I don't know if anyone here knows even the difference, a little bit about being Episcopal? We all know what Unitarian is. Maybe you kind of have a sense of what a fundamentalist Christian religion is.
Fundamentalist Christians do that all the prison because basically fundamentalist Christians imply as prisoners to be like, I don't know, but it would be that good for the prisoners would be there to come in and just listen to the prisoner talk about God. Prison phone not talk.
Excellent point.
Yeah, it is. The fundamentalists come in and talk at them.
They want to save them.
Yeah, they want to save them, and all they do is talk at them, and if they can get 150 people to sit and listen to one fundamentalist talk at them, they think that's wonderful. But you don't change somebody's life by entertaining them. You change someone's life by having a small group conversation.
But can you tell us a little bit about the Episcopal, what that is?
Yeah, the Episcopal Church is, we're not fundamentalist. We're much more liberal than that. I'd say we're a little closer to you guys, actually, because we don't take the Bible literally. We take it as metaphor, as poetry, as a love story about how God loves people, and there are a lot of love stories about how God loves people. That's pretty much how I can also be part of the Indiana Buddhist Center, because that's another love story about how God loves people. There is a strand of Buddhism called Matra Buddhism. It's called mind-only Buddhism that believes there is some kind of an eternal mind that thinks the world into existence. And if you know the book of Genesis at all, second chapter of Genesis says that God speaks the world, or the first chapter says that God speaks the world into existence. So speaking the world into existence and thinking the world into existence aren't that different. And so really the Episcopal Church does take the Bible as much more as a metaphor and a book of poetry about God. So,
I also know you have obviously women who are ordained.
Yeah, we have
which is
ordained
not
women.
like some of the other denominations.
yeah,
Tend to be gay welcoming.
very gay welcoming. We have gay clergy, we have gay bishops.